Welcome back. Today we need to sort out I would say major problem on the lawnmower. It's got to be an engine out job because the engine shaft is worn. So is the pulley, and the machine, the engine shaft, it's gonna come out. I don't want to dismantle the engine. I was thinking about rigging it on a mill and use a boring head and just do the outside diameter of the shaft. It's only about 3/10 of a millimeter. Unfortunately, it's on the wrong side. It's on the engine side, not on the outer side. So making a new pulley alone will not help. We need to work on the shaft. The keyway doesn't look very pretty either, so I need to look at this as well. And with the engine in place, it's just a pain. Essentially it's 3 bolts, but as far as I know, the threads in the rubbers are gone, so that we probably need to cut them and use new ones anyway, because the engine is going backwards because the rubbers are soft, so that needs addressing as well. I wanted to wait with it till the winter, but apparently now's the time. It's unusable at the moment, so glad it's raining, so I've got an excuse why not mowing the lawn. Anyway, it's gonna be an engine out job, and I don't know if this is visible. When I started the engine, there was a clonking noise and I was wondering what's going wrong. It was always a bit clunky, but not too bad, but today it was really bad. So we took that pulley thing off. It's basically a big chunk of metal with a pulley groove here. That's for the auxiliary drive, which I don't have. And at the bottom there is the big pulley for the mower deck. Somehow oval, and the shaft of the motor is shaped like this reamer. This is the motor end, and the shaft is smaller here and wider here, which is about it's 25.3 at the bottom here, and at the engine side up there it's 25.2, 25.1 millimeters, just under 1 inch. And apparently that's not an easy fix, because even if I make that new, it will still have play, because otherwise you can't get it on. So the idea is making this new, because the groove for the pulley is considerably worn as well, and take the engine out, but not removing the crankshaft. We're actually trying to use a boring head and basically just grind the outside, bore the outside of the shaft a little bit down. The keyway is 1/4 inch, and it's a bit worn as well. It's 5.6 here and 6.3 at the bottom, so it was clunky for quite a while. Let's see how far we get with the engine, and then we'll see. So that's the battery charging alternator regulator thingy. AC comes here with the 2 yellow ones, and that's the common ground, so the yellow ones don't matter. These do matter. This is not entirely sure what is what, because the writing is not so 100% clear. This is a switch symbol, that's black and red. This is most probably, it says LE, whatever that means. That is red yellow, and the other one is red brown, which is the bottom one. So we should be okay with that. If it doesn't work, we'll see it. So we got the, we need to remove this, the starter wire, the power wire. That's the other one, the oil pressure switch, and the fuel line and throttle cable, and I think that's on the other side, and I think that's it. And then just the 3 bolts which hold the motor, and we should get it out eventually. So we got the engine out, and a good one to clip fuel lines is just a pair of locking pliers. It's pretty dirty down there, but that's from the last oil change, I think. One of the problems here is that the drain screw is too far in and you can't get anything on it. I think while the engine is out I make an extension. Anyway, the plan for now is, this is a machined surface, all these points are machined. So I'll lay the engine on the side on a square block and put it on the milling machine, and then just skim the shaft. I need to lock it somehow, and then just skim the shaft, dial it in and skim it. That's the idea for now. Once we got it on the machine we do some measurements, and probably will be shocked how oval the whole thing is. That flange underneath that's just a spacer because the shaft is vertical on that engine. It's not part of the engine. Alright, we'll see you back on the milling machine. So that's our problem here. The keyway is completely worn out, and the shaft is thinner here, and it's a bit thicker here. No matter where you measure, it had it. So what we're gonna do, we make that round again with a boring bar, and we mill that keyway to 8mm. It's a 6.3, is a 1/4 inch keyway, and I got 8mm key stock here. So I make an 8mm key, an 8mm keyway, and probably shape it down to the original size at the top. I think about it, or I make it with an 8mm. I don't know right now. That's the plan, and that's how it looks on the mill. Quite a big engine for that, but I think that's a lot easier than taking the crankshaft out. What I found is that the crankshaft has a bit of a run out here. There is a little bit of run out. We'll check out how much it is. And target is 25mm on the shaft because it's 1 inch, that's 25.4. If I can maintain 25, that would be okay. So 0.4mm shouldn't weaken the whole thing a lot. That's how the whole thing sits on here, and you can hear it's rattling, and there's a lot of play, not in all places, so the whole thing is badly worn. I think it was loose for quite a while, and it just became worse over time. So and these grooves are worn as well, so it's time to make a new one anyway. So just a bit of work. I measured the shaft, and it's all in all positions is above 25mm, so it's 25.2, 25.3. Depends on how good I get it dialed in. We'll see. We use a boring bar and just shave it off at the outside. That should work. We're gonna need to block the crank, which can easily be done with a starter gear, and should be alright. It's just about enough travel on the milling machine. I got probably about 100mm 4 inch backwards, so that's okay. Otherwise I need to move that block further out. I still have a little bit left, but I'm a bit worried because the engine is quite heavy. So it's the next evening, and I think I got it dialed in pretty well. Just because that movement is actually the shaft, I think. Because on the horizontal plane it's pretty good. Vertical, if I take the average of the movement here, this indicator is a 1000 millimeter indicator. So that's about, which is that? That's about 500, and that's at the end here where the shaft is rubbed down. If I come out, the other one will move as well. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So I think we happy for now with that, and try the rotary dial indicator. I think I'm gonna indicate on this one first, which is the least bent part of the shaft, and once that's around we just go outwards and see what we have. I think it's got a bit of a kink on that shaft because the pulley was wobbling a little bit. Maybe it's just the shaft or it's bent. We can probably check the center, I don't know. So let's change over to the rotary dial indicator and see what we have. Tram in the table, so that's in the center, and then we'll see. So I think we got it pretty well dialed in. There's a little bit of movement, but it's probably half a needle width or so, one needle width. That's pretty good. So let's crank that out a little bit. We still have travel. Let's see what we've got here. So that's aft. I indicated on this one, and the table is locked horizontally already. So let's see what we got here. There is a kink in the shaft, which we can see, which is about, yeah, there's a step in the shaft. But apart from that step, it's pretty round. So next challenge will be cranking the engine around. I don't feel super comfortable because the engine is overhanging a fair bit here. I already put a piece of wood underneath here just in case the mill tips over. So let's crank the engine and see what we get. That's no good. That's the keyway. So let's get back in here. So that's not too bad. I just use the decompression lever here so I can turn it around easily. That looks pretty good on that. So if it's bent, it's the shaft which comes out. This thing runs pretty true. Can't believe that. Yeah, let's try it. Looks pretty good. Happy with that. So we know we're in center. So that vertical is locked as well. Table is locked. Double check it. So all we have now is in and out. We can tip the engine with this bolt here. That's strapping down the whole thing and is actually tilting the engine. I just used one mounting hole which was there, and I can pull it down. We've got one of these monster chucks here which just holds it in place. That is just for peace of mind basically, in case if it tips. So I think I'm gonna set up the boring bar and see where it touches, and maybe we can indicate the center of the shaft. The indicator was running through as well. It was true on this end. So the only uncertainty is the up down, and I think we're gonna figure that out somehow. I'm pretty sure the shaft is bent. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Alright. So we're set up. We put the boring bar in the boring head. It's actually reverse, so that's the reason why I put a hose clip there. I tightened it as good as I could, put some tape underneath and just tighten that hose clip as good as possible, just in case it comes loose so it doesn't wind itself completely out. I do only very light cuts. Travel is set okay, so we're just about touching. I'm gonna give it a try and see what it does. You can hear it's not round. I'm feeding by hand. And once we got a reasonable surface, we indicate it again and see if we got the bend out before we cut too much material. And you can hear now it's catching on the other side of the keyway. I probably can go a bit faster, but I don't know what sort of material that is, so I'd rather take it slow. Well, it takes some time because we only have one try before the whole thing is shot. And now we come into the thicker part here. You can already see there's a real dent in it where it was hammering. We're concentric to the end of it. With that corner here, but it's probably going to be boring now. But yeah, you can see it's not cutting there. So we have a it shouldn't do that actually. I need to check. Shouldn't do that because I checked it and it's further out. I might need to reset the tool a little bit. It's very tight. The stick out of the carbide is a little bit more than the diameter here, but I tilted it a little bit to get more into the center. But I probably need to reset that because I think it's catching here. Surface finish isn't too bad actually. I'm surprised. That's the bent corner here. Let's check that. Yeah, we're thicker in the middle. We're cutting here, so the shaft is bent upwards at the moment. We'll see where we get when we get some cuts. And then we just rotate it. I think we call it a day for today. It's late. I'm gonna reset the tool, and if it still hits it, I just grind a little bit off here. Shouldn't harm. It's cutting nice, sounds a bit awkward, but it's cutting. So, at least the plan works. Okay, that's it for today. Dinner time. Part 2 will then be the final skimming and most likely machining the new hub. Alright, until part 2. See you then.